be Rick's son Nick, for Carolyn, her arm healing, for Joanna's mother-in-law, and others that we may not know about. Lord, be with them and bless them. Lord, thank you again for our families and all the good things you've done and all the vacations you've allowed us to have this summer as well. Lord, continue to be with us as we go forward. Bless Mike in his year in office. Help us do great things. And remember that all the success we have comes from you, and ask it in your son's holy name. Amen.
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 Hey, Sharon.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Want to introduce
Introduction. Get to introduce John again.
I'm going to introduce John Clay. Good morning. Welcome.
All right.
Happy Bucks?
Happy Bucks.
Yes. I am so happy
Why are you so happy?
because I wear many hats. And this is the one for today.
Oh, okay.
We're back.
Fox Theater.
Fox Theater is open.
Wow.
Ford
Great.
Field is open.
Wow.
So yeah, I'm back. Yeah.
All right.
Who else is back?
She's back.
Happy Buck, my friend from church and I, a couple of us went to Holt, Michigan, which is south of Grand Rapids, for a end of the season truck demolition derby, which was spectacular. And where I went on races was a school bus race, figure 8, with like 12 buses, and they were.
wow.
You're on the street every morning, Bob.
Well, these were painted a little bit weird, but they were school buses. And at the end, they weeded themselves down to 3. The other, 9 got smashed. And after that was the last thing, which again, I've never seen. It's trucks and cars, 22 of them, all pulling a trailer of some sort. And the idea is if you can knock somebody's trailer off the back of their vehicle, that eliminates them. So people were purposely trying to crash to get there. So it's spectacular. So that's worth at least $1. If you ever get a chance to go to one, they're worth it. So
Bob, can I just ask a question?
sure.
Are you scouting for what we're going to do, a touch a truck next year?
It could be a demolition derby out back. So interesting idea. I like that. So,
Was that a happy buck?
oh, yes, it was.
Did you pay him?
Yes.
All right.
Trying to get 2 for 1.
Another
Yep.
right there.
I'm John. I'm new. Everybody's greeted me, so I didn't know who I am. Last week, I took up golf about a year ago, and
Why?
well, yeah, really. I practiced so much, I threw out my back. And
Oh, yeah.
last week, I had an injection, and it worked.
Wow.
And so I feel a whole lot better. So I'm real grateful.
Oh, that's great.
Good.
Wow.
That why it comes from. Other golfers.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
I started.
Yes, sir.
Never started it 30 years.
Sure, I'm happy because one, John is here with us again. And also because the Tigers won last night in 11 innings.
Wow, all right.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
They held up. Yeah. That's awesome. Good.
Well, I'm happy because our Detroit Lions are tied for first place in their division. You
Wow.
always got to take a positive spin on
That's
things.
right.
So that's why I'm happy.
Cool.
Of course, all 4 teams are 0-1, but
Okay.
we're tied.
I'm happy back from my 10-day R&R up in Oscoda. It was like heaven.
Yeah,
Nobody was up there. The whole town was empty because all the kids are back to school. So it was fantastic.
that's awesome. Thank you. Glad you're safe.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
Sharon.
Yes.
Morning, everybody. That's my hand.
There's a dollar up on the screen there.
Yes, sir.
I have a happy buck. First of all, I want to comment on Mike's comment. because the Lions should very well get an award for consistency for the last, 50 years?
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that. They are a consistent team. But my happy buck is for Friday, because Friday marks the 5th anniversary of my only grandson's birth, and he must have won the Super Bowl, because my son and my daughter-in-law are taking him to Disney World over the weekend. So that's what my happy buck is for, my grandson's 5th birthday.
Nice.
All right.
Thank you.
Is that it?
That's it.
All righty.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Have a great day, everybody.
Now,
And you too.
I've been asked to, well, it was suggested to me that we call this, what I used to call the business meeting, what we're doing today, to use the Rotary term, club assembly. So this is our first club assembly. And that's what we're gonna do. I have a few things to go over. I'm gonna talk fast and I'm not gonna say much because Bob is gonna give us a tremendous presentation where we're gonna talk about touch a truck, things to do better, in the future, and what we wanted to have it, see it do. So I want to give most of the meeting over to Bob. But I just wanted to go over a few things to make sure everybody's up to date. And I'd like to thank, again, Bill and Greg for the outstanding job they do on our weekly notices they send out to us. That, if you're unsure of what's happening, it's listed there, the 4 things: who, what, when, where, why. So you can always refer to that. You don't have to listen to us say it, and then if you don't write it down, because it's all there, and it's such a slick presentation. And when we're gonna have speakers, we're gonna take pictures of them and post it on there. So those guys, Greg, you need to be commended for that.
New format is great, by the way.
Yeah.
You just, I love it.
Good.
And even I got it. I just wanted to throw that in.
Good. Off your Commodore 64, right? I know, because that's what I use. So
So, Mike, what's nice about that COTS contact system is I have one list called Rotary Club members and one's called Friends of Rotary.
Yeah.
And COTS contact shows you who opened the email and when they opened it. So when we send it out to guests, like you asked me to put
Aruna.
Aruna, yeah, and she opened it. So you get to see it, so hey, it worked. You want her to see it and she opened it. So as soon as you read it.
Yeah, I used to use that a lot when I owned a business. And it seems like the first thing I always got was the people that dropped me off of the list,
Yeah.
But I don't think we're gonna have that much of a problem with
We've had none
that.
of those.
No, not yet. Upcoming speakers, Reverend Dave is gonna talk about the spaghetti dinner next week. And maybe a little history about it. And if he wants to tell us a little bit of the history about the eradication of polio and all of that. I'm not going to say it now because heard it. The big thing that we have to be prepared for is the following week, our district governor, Aruna, and I don't want to pronounce her last name until I get the correct pronunciation of it. But our district governor, Aruna, is going to be here, and we're going to be following that up by a board of directors meeting. And we would request that everybody, come either in person or on Zoom for that, because it's important to show that our club is truly engaged, and we want to welcome our district governor. She does all this for free, and it's a good thing. And district governors, I kept seeing. I went to the Plymouth chicken dinner for their Rotary Club, and I'm a numbers guy because I used to own a business, and they do 10,000 chicken dinners. At $14 a chicken dinner, and if you can figure out food costs, that's a heck of a fundraiser. But they've been doing it for.
Suggestion.
the people up there said I look better when I'm up there.
No, that was someone from home that wants to see your face.
Yeah, but I thought, wow, and I saw Paul Sincock there, and he's an ex-district governor, isn't he? Yeah, and I saw Captain Rotary was there with his two grandkids, that they live in Northville. And it was a wonderful thing. And if you guys, if you've never been to that before, $14, they give you half a chicken, and it's a good thing. And it's a good fundraiser. So upcoming events, boy, we are not a sit on our hands group, are we? We got the carnival coming up this Thursday. I'm gonna go out there. I don't necessarily know I'm gonna, do much of the rides, but I'll probably find some elephant ears or something like that to eat. Yeah, Bob.
Pat sent me, and he can send you guys, I have a copy of the flyer for it. And I spent yesterday emailing the flyer around to everybody I knew who has access to a Facebook page. The Livonia Public Schools
Yep.
put it on, Clarenceville put it on theirs. So anybody or another Rotary Club, if there's somebody there, have Pat email the flyer to you and send it out today and ask them to put it on their Facebook or whatever. So it's an easy way to, cheap way to get it out to everybody. So if you haven't done it, you gotta send it to at least 10 people, so.
Well, what I did is, and you get those things, if you're on Facebook, if you share it to all your friends,
Right,
I mean, I got 600 friends.
yeah.
I don't know 600 people, but
That's
if I share it to all those people, that's 600 people that will see it.
Yeah.
And some of them might like, and so sharing on Facebook is the best way to advertise cheaply. That's a good point, Bob. Thanks.
I'm still have requests for flyers.
Well, we can take, does anybody have any flyers?
Flyers?
There's no flyers. And when I mention it to people, they say, well, where's the flyer?
Yeah, we
So,
did
Yeah.
flyers. We did it last time.
in my circle, I'm hand-tied, face-to-face. I need flyers.
Maybe from out, we want to consider having a smaller quantity for people who don't want it that way.
We've done that in the past with this COVID thing at the school, and we just decided just to go
Okay.
electronic on it this year.
Okay, yeah, and some people, okay.
We do, yeah.
All right.
Okay, cool.
Okay, 9:20, there's going to be an ice cream social here at the senior center at 11:30, I believe.
Yes, and I'm
I'm-
gonna check with Carrie, so before everybody leaves, once Carrie comes in, I'm gonna double check on the time on that.
Oh, okay, I wish I could attend that. I've got a doctor appointment.
I should be able to attend,
but-
so I'll be there. Maybe Bill, if he wants to come and volunteer again, he volunteered for the last one, so maybe he wants to come again. But yeah.
Oh, okay,
And how long does that last?
Oh,
About 12:30, 1 o'clock,
Yeah.
about an hour or so.
So I'll put the time on our website, I'll say 11:30 till, I'll say to 1. Just give people an idea if they volunteer.
okay. On 10/2, the Kids Against Hunger, it's St. Edith, that's the meal packing event. And the reason I'm bringing it up is I got an email from the Matt saying that they're short 30 volunteers. They got enough money to make so many meals, but now they got to get the number of volunteers. So if anybody has not signed up, would you please email me that you'd like to do it? And I'll just accumulate the small list that way. And let me know by the end of the week. And I'll forward that to Matt and say, this is the extra people that we're having coming over and above the ones that Tammy set up through that online thing.
Is that you can volunteer for a chunk of time, like the first 2 hours, second 2 hours. You don't have to volunteer for all day.
No,
So you just pick a time, but I don't know what the time blocks are. You should find that out from him.
Mike,
okay.
8 to 12.
has Matt given you a link to anything online that has details or a flyer or anything like that in emails that you received?
I got a flyer. I don't even know if I brought it.
I'm sorry,
But-
I'll email Max. I want to put that on there's no link on our website
Oh, okay, yeah,
to that opportunity.
I can't scan. Well, I
No,
don't know.
I'll reach out to Matt. He'll
Yeah,
send me
because-
something.
Well, here we go.
I'll have to push in.
Okay, well,
That's everything I need. It's got the website and everything, so. You're good, thank you.
And then 10:10, we're gonna need, they're saying about 8 volunteers from our club to work on the Livonia All-Stars versus the Detroit Red Wing alumni here at Eddie Edgar Field. And then again, you know, I think it'd be easier if you just email me if you would like to do that. If you want to do it, you all have my email address, you know, email me. And then the World Polio Day Spaghetti Dinner fundraiser, which is going to be the 21st, which we're going to hear all about that next week from Reverend Dave.
However, we're happy to let everybody know that the posters, Pat has come up with these great posters. Please be sure to take some that are up on the front table there and post them wherever you can or distribute them. Very good.
Okay. Joanne,
Yes.
could you give us a little information about
A
the,
lot of information.
yeah, you know, just tell us a little bit about what we're looking forward to starting tomorrow at Livonia Mall, Sears parking lot.
Well, we're looking for some absolutely incredible weather. It looks like the weather's going to be on our side for a weekend carnival. The guys are in town. They're setting up. I am meeting them out there today to make sure everything's good, that there's no issues or if they need any help with anything. But it looks like things are going to come together pretty smoothly. We'll open tomorrow at 4 o'clock and run through Sunday at 10, as long as we have people there. So it should be a good weekend. It should be a great fundraiser for us.
Oh, the weather's gonna be 80, 85 all weekend.
Is it?
Yeah.
That's
All right.
It's gonna be
So,
beautiful weather.
Oh,
So, yep.
And before I turn it over to the Touch a Truck speaker, Bob, I just wanted to congratulate Grant. You weren't here last week, just on an outstanding job of the Touch a Truck. You know, you guys work together. And like I was saying, I saw you and Harish driving those trucks and the other people that are in the Interact, and I thought, you know, I'm not worried about getting my Social Security checks anymore, because I think you guys, we're leaving it in good hands with you guys. So thank you very much.
good job.
The one who invented such a truck 5 years ago.
Wow.
Was his idea originally. So they're looking at the inventor right there. So.
Founder.
The one lady that's running for city council, who has a business where she tells, or she doesn't tell them, she lets people know different projects and places they can go for children. She said she's been to multiple Touch a Trucks, and ours was far and away the best.
Nice.
So
There you go, Grant.
now Bob Karras is going to talk about Touch a Truck.
Gonna move up front to do it.
Yeah.
Chair. Up front.
Here, I got it, Bob.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. Yeah, I'll be able to sit down so I can jot notes. Again, want to thank everybody here. I think almost every one of you was there in one form or another, and that was a great help. Just as a reminder, you know, Grant did invent this about 5 years ago. Were you a sophomore when you invented it the first year, Grant?
Yeah, I think our first year I was a sophomore.
Yeah, that's pretty good for a sophomore to come up for an event that now draws almost 6,000 people.
In high school.
In high school, while he was in high school in his spare time. Everything I've heard from everybody, I've been getting letters and emails from everybody under the sun, and they were all impressed with it. I have not, I'm being honest, I've not gotten any complaints other than it was too hot, but the alternative was pouring rain and we didn't want that. So what I wanted to do today, as well, it's still fresh on everybody's mind, is to go through some of the major areas and have people just respond. And what I'm looking for is suggestions. Oh yeah, pull one out. Is just suggestions of how to make it better, or if something we did that we shouldn't have done. I want to get your input on that. Unfortunately, we couldn't get any of the Interact kids here today. They all have their super duper math class in the morning and they can't escape from that, unfortunately. But I'll meet with them separately and Dave Burton. The first one is, and we're trying to iron this out, but I want to get everybody's feel for it. Normally we have this event for people who haven't done it before, the last Saturday in July. This year, because of COVID and all kinds of that kind of thing, we ended up having to push it off and the city let us use it on August 28th. There may be a problem with green meat and I'm trying to iron that out. We've gotten some feedback that people like August 28th and want to do it in August next year, but green meat is kind of pushing for us to do it at the end of July. What is everybody's feeling on which date would they like it? And is there any particular reason for it? So I need feedback. July, August. Any feeling one way or another?
I like August.
I like August.
I like August.
Yeah,
August.
yeah,
I mentioned that I have like 3 weekends in July that I'm not in town,
yeah,
and it's never gonna change.
yeah. So I'm gonna see what I can work out with Maureen to do August sometime. It may not be the 28th, but I'm gonna see. She's got some other event coming up in August and I don't know the details, but I'll get that for you.
When do you think we'll finalize our date so we can start?
I'm hoping to get it finalized within a week or so, because I want to know for next year, because I want to start telling people now about the date next year, including all the trucks.
Once we lock in the date, then on my end, I can put it on the web because we have a section on the web.
Yeah. It was interesting. I had a meeting here last night with the senior commission that I'm still on the board for that. And there was a new lady on there who said she lived in Livonia and she said she's never heard of it before. And I said, you must not be on social media because it was everywhere. I think we did our best social media and we got TV time on Channel 2. And I don't know, Bill, did you ever put the Channel 2 link on our website?
No, I never thought about that.
You should take a look at that because we got Sharon.
Don't forget Channel 4. They are really good. There's a program on at 10 o'clock from 10 to 11, and they do all local things.
Is it like
And,
Friday evening?
And they will do an extra, a big spot.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I've tried 3 years before this to get Channel 4 specifically to cover this, and I've never gotten them to do it. So I need a contact, helps to know somebody there. I will try them again next year. Channel 2, we had a link to somebody's mom who knows Derek Kevra, who's the one who did the story. And she called up her son and said, you need to do this. And he did it.
Okay.
So.
Well, Jason and Tati are the two people.
Okay, well,
Two main people.
remind me when we need to start talking to them at least a month ahead of time. So remind me next year about Channel 4. I'll put that on there. What about the hours? This year we started at 8:30, ended at 2. And we started a little bit earlier this year, 8:30. We used to start at 9. But this year we started at 8:30, but we wanted the trucks in place by 8. So feedback, Dave?
Just a couple of comments on it because it relates to parking. Already before 8:30, we had a line probably about 30 deep in terms of individuals lined up ready to come in.
Oh.
And the cars were already starting to back up considerably, and we were grateful. The police stepped in and
yes.
they kind of gently pushed Greg and me aside and said, we're taking over here. And I said, you don't need us. And they said, no, you stand there and you stand there. And then they told us exactly what to do.
Yeah.
They were very, very good. And we almost need the police initially right at the beginning. I would suggest that they be there no later than 8:15 if we're going to start at 8:30.
Yeah, the police came a little later than usual.
Yeah, for the purpose of not letting the traffic back up onto Newburgh Road. Greg and I thought we were doing a marvelous job of parking, getting cars to park. Well, we couldn't do it the way the police did. And I think Greg wants to chime in right there as well.
Yeah, Greg, go ahead.
Well, first of all, I want to echo what Father Dave said. I was so glad that the police took over because I had no idea how overwhelming that traffic was going to be. And the police kept moving us and moving us and moving us. And they warned us. They said, no, you're not far enough away. So that was great. The early start time, I want to say, is a good thing for this reason. I think with a lot of families with the children, I think parents are more willing to come in early on a Saturday and kind of satisfy the kids, and get that kind of out of the way and then get on with the rest of their day after 2 o'clock. I think that was a good thing. Plus, it wasn't at its absolute hottest time that early in the morning. So, that was a good thing there. I want to commend whoever decided, maybe it was just happenstance, but the fact that we had the whole park, I think was a good thing, because that grove of trees enabled us to have an actual gate.
Yep.
Okay, so that people could come into one location, other than what we found out later, that they were coming in from the other side of the park. That's an issue that we'll have to deal with.
Well,
but I will say this, if we needed to improve something, if there was a complaint at all, it would have been on our donation process. Because as the cars were coming in so fast and people were coming in so quickly, that line for the donations to get through there was just immense. And I heard people moaning and groaning about, having to do that. So if there's some way we can work on that and speed that process up of getting the donations and getting people through that gate, I think that'll be great for next year.
Okay, Dave, do you want to?
That was a big improvement though this year, having the donations right before the tent.
Right.
Rather than us collecting and having to make change.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so
Agreed.
we were
Yeah.
pleasantly pleased with the fact that so many people said, keep the change as a donation.
Yep.
And whether it was 5s or 10s or 20s,
Mm-hmm.
it was amazing.
Well, Mike?
I just want to say, we're talking about taking the donations and that, and I think that we should probably buy some Rotary, like.
I've got them. I have them.
Oh, you got them?
We used them the year before and I had them, they were there somewheres and I just didn't think, but if we moved out like we did, we originally were only going to take money at the tables,
Right.
but you guys started moving out into the crowd and doing it. I have the aprons that Sharon actually, and my wife made them a couple of years ago.
Oh, okay.
So what we can do is have 2, 3, 4, 5 people go out and with money in those aprons and start collecting.
Well,
But
yeah, let's put them, I'm sorry, let's put them in the bin with the t-shirts maybe. So.
Yeah, I'll get them. I have them in one place. I'll get those and put them out there.
Okay.
That helped tremendously because last year, Father Dave and my wife were going nuts, taking money out in the parking lot and making change. And about every third person would come up and give us a 20 and to make an $18 worth of change or 19 back then. So.
And Nancy has a question.
Yeah, Nancy, go ahead.
No, I have a comment.
Sure.
I have a comment about the parking lot for improvements. I was in the parking lot almost all day, and I agreed that the police were lifesavers for us in terms of moving traffic and like intermittently make one car go to the fire lot and one car go to the green, I'm going to call it the green lot. The one thing that one police officer started kind of barking at me, I think she was very upset, is we had no volunteers telling people how to start another lane of parking on the green lawn. And she said, "Where's your volunteers?" And I said, "Well, I'm standing here." And she said, "Well, I need somebody to start getting people to make parking lines." So I was thinking about that if we brought orange cones and where we know where we're going to have to start another lane of parking if we have a cone to kind of help people. But we also need, finally, she herself went out into the lawn area and started parking the cars. The other thing is, I don't know what happens to people when they get the crowd, but their IQs automatically decrease. And we were told by the police to keep everybody to the if you were facing Greenmead, the left side of the lane, because cars are coming in on the right side. And I would say, and my job was to make sure nobody got killed crossing over. And I just noticed that I'd say, please go to the left side. I'm just wondering, I don't know if we put just a few cones up and say, can you please stay to, left of the cones, or some visual cue for them. But everybody basically was very polite. They were driving slow. They weren't being stupid or anything. It's just, I think they get excited when they're in the crowd and they're not listening to it. The other thing is the earplugs. I was asked to sell the earplugs, but I had no money. I had nothing. So I would tell them to make a donation at the tent. I know Grant and some of his Interact students came to me and told me I had to collect the money, but I said, I can't. All I could do is give them the earplugs and ask them to donate $1 at the tent. And I'm sorry that caused confusion, but I think we need to come up with some other system.
Well, we used to sell the earplugs only at the table. And what we can do next year is have one of those aprons with money already in it with the earplugs. And if somebody wants to walk out in the line and start selling them, they'll both be together. So Tammy?
Can I suggest, and I was going to suggest moving the water station too, but have the earplugs inside after they get in.
Okay.
Yes,
All right.
and yeah, by the
Instead of
water.
in the line, we can have earplugs at the water station.
Okay. Makes more sense.
And then that doesn't, because actually the thing that was backing us up for whatever reason, and we had 3 or 4 people at one point giving out the cars, was what was kind of backing us up from getting the people to go through.
Yeah.
So anything that we can do inside the fence.
Right.
And I might even suggest, like, next year, if we have the cars or something, get the people in and then, hand stuff out or have them buy water. Or have
We can
them
set up a
buy
booth just for the cars. I mean, that's easy enough to put up a tent and let.
And put a
people
table in
sit
there.
Yeah.
Underneath the shade.
Because they don't have to collect any money. They just have to have the cars up there.
So
So,
yeah, little guys and girls like
Yeah.
to take the time. pick
yeah,
up
I
the
think
car.
that, and if they want to make a donation, they can, and just say that, do it. But somebody else suggested that and you just reminded me of it. I think a separate tent and a separate table, get them in and let them go 50 feet and then say, hey, we've got something for you up there. Send them in and get them passed.
Going back to the parking,
Yes.
Nancy kind of triggered this, and Greg, Nancy and I were
Yeah.
kind of involved in this. I think our biggest job was to make sure that families that were now trying to cross in front of cars and so on,
Didn't get
our
killed.
job was more protecting the families and creating, just stopping the line very briefly to get a group of them across.
Right.
But, maybe it'd be best if the police were there at 8 o'clock.
I can
because
request that.
People are coming by 8:15,
Yeah.
as we found.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. I can request that. And I think they would do it. So their toughest time obviously is up until about 10, 11 o'clock and then things calm down. So.
I would say something about the parking.
Sure. Yeah.
What I noticed was we had 2 or 3 volunteers that spent the entire day in the sun directing traffic.
Yep.
While the rest of us got to take turns sitting underneath the canopy selling water and doing other things, but
Yeah. We need to,
next year, what we're gonna do is we're gonna come up with a rotation where you do an hour of parking, somebody comes and relieves you, you give them some quick instructions, then you go sell water and get a break.
yeah.
I think we have
Yeah,
to
we have-
rotate it. We have to have just a sign up
Yep.
sheet. Because we've done it 2 years in a row and it's so unfair to the people sitting out there. now.
Right. They are out there in the hot sun. So,
Let's talk about, because I have some stuff under 12, which is volunteers.
Right.
And that was part of
Yep.
what I was going to talk about.
Okay.
okay.
So is that okay if we?
Yeah, why don't we go to
because
volun-
otherwise We're going to go down, I'm going to get down a rabbit hole with that.
Yeah.
So we'll talk
Well,
about
let's-
the
Okay.
volunteers.
We'll do
Good.
volunteers because it's a major, that's the toughest area in terms of, it's a lot of work and it's hot and it's
Do you
miserable.
want to hit that right now?
I would say let's go with that now because I think.
Tammy's saying bullet point wise in the list of the agenda.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know if you wanted to go in order.
Oh, no, not
but-
necessarily. I was just doing a brain dump about what we should, things to talk about. So no, go
Well,
ahead.
we're gonna talk about volunteers. And
Yeah.
that was one of the things that I was gonna bring up. And I know I had tons of people coming up to me, where am I supposed to be? What am I supposed to do? And I think we need to have a volunteer person
Volunteer coordinator.
with a clipboard that is their only job, is to stand and organize volunteers. Because I think, there were some people that were frustrated
Yeah.
because they didn't have anywhere to go. And then we were putting people out, and then
Yep,
like
I
the
agree.
parking lot, we weren't rotating.
Mhm.
So I would suggest that we have a volunteer coordinator who
I
has
agree.
a list of people,
Mhm.
which means that we also, it's our responsibility to hold ourselves accountable to say, I'm going to be there, and then absolutely show up.
Yep.
And be there because you're on the list, and then that coordinator's responsibility is to make sure
Yeah,
that they,
I agree.
and they probably should have everybody's cell phone number on it, right?
Yep.
Their name, their cell phone number, what position they're gonna be at. We can post that out on the thing so that it reminds people, here's where you're supposed to be, what time you're supposed to be there. And then that person can also go around and help to make sure people rotate out and
Yep.
leave. But I think, and we need to know ahead of time, right? Because nobody knew who had the volunteer
That's
list.
right.
So,
Yeah.
we need to know,
Mhm.
Bill is in charge of the volunteers. If you go to
Right.
him, he will tell you where to go. And part of that volunteer thing and I put on my notes to have a pregame run through the night before,
Mhm.
but maybe we have a pregame Zoom meeting on Friday night, just
Yeah.
to be like, okay,
Right.
you're gonna volunteer, try and hop on a 20-minute Zoom call.
Right.
Here's what we're gonna do, here's the plan,
Right.
everybody's gonna be here. When you get there, we're gonna have the tent set up here or at the
Right.
Wednesday meeting, but do some
Yep.
kind of a pre-game run
Right.
through that just
Yep.
people visually and auditorily hear
What they're
what's
gonna
gonna
do.
happen, where they're supposed to be, so it registers when they get there, they know what's
Yeah.
going on.
Well, and I, Sharon, before you do, the other thing, and they're not here, and I'm going to say this, the Interact kids were not well organized in terms of them getting volunteers. They got a bunch at the very last minute, but they had only, at one point, I think they only had like 4 people volunteer out of a club of 20. And I want Dave, and us to have a heart-to-heart chat with them to say, this is your project. You make a good amount of money, which I'll ask you about in a little while here. And you need to have volunteers, whether it's your family members or club members or other kids in the school, they need to put more effort into that. So,
Well, and I think
Yeah.
that will come to
Yeah.
with having a hard volunteer list. They
Yeah.
just, instead of just telling the kids, hey,
Yeah.
we need you to come to volunteer, we
Right.
can say to them, here are the slots,
yep.
here's what needs to be done,
Mhm.
here's where,
Coffee.
here's what we need to do. And that also helps, if you have your name in writing, it helps, for the commitment,
Right.
for them to be there, and it makes them feel like, they're needed and they're responsible
Yeah.
and they have an obligation.
Well, I think from my point of view, taking the blame for it, I think the volunteer thing was not organized at all. And of course, when things get close, my life goes into hyperdrive, getting everything with the trucks and everything else done. And I'm not shedding that. We should have done it. And I should have thought to put that together in advance. Dave?
Hey, Bob.
All things considered, the volunteers though did a good.
Oh,
good
yes,
job.
yeah.
Oh,
And,
absolutely.
They did.
And I found myself in a position of jumping in wherever
You're needed.
needed. So I bounced around, and that would be a subject for conversation. Do we want volunteers to be focused in on more one activity or a variety of activities?
Mhm.
Or should some of us be the ones who are kind of floaters and just
Right.
filling in wherever
Right.
needed? One of the things that we didn't cover in this, and I congratulate you on this thought list, is I think was Pat came up with this really neat, or maybe you did, Greg,
Bill.
Bob, or Bill, excuse me.
It was probably me. Yeah, probably me. What was
this
it?
nice card about our Livonia Rotary AM Club.
Yeah.
No, that wasn't me. I can't take credit.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was a great card. What I would suggest is.
That yellow card.
And those went quickly, but if you got out there and hawked it, everybody got them. So you're
Yeah.
trying to distribute a lot to a lot of people very quickly, knowing that it may only reach some.
Yep.
But what I would suggest is on the back of that.
Yeah, that card right
put
there.
up- Oh, thank
Yeah.
you,
That's
Tammy.
our
There's not a
president.
blank
Yeah.
on the back.
Yeah.
It's blank on the back, but if we could put upcoming dates of bullet point dates and activities that are coming up.
That's what Bill Freed said.
And
Yeah.
volunteers
Yeah.
needed.
Right.
You guys think alike.
Yep.
Not really.
Yeah.
Well, your afternoon
But
club.
we
Yeah.
get along,
Yeah.
we get along.
Pat, did you
That's a
make
good
those
point.
or did Eric? Do you know who?
I heard him, I
Yeah.
think it was Mike's who created it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Really lovely.
yes.
And kudos.
Well, a lot of
I
people
know.
had 'em, and that, they knew what was going on. So I hadn't even thought of that. So the card next year, and somebody needs to design it, maybe Pat, between you and Mike, redesign the card, put whatever we want on it. We should have that for almost every event we do, by the way, coming up with the dinner. We should update that card and have it for that and for the corn roast that's coming up too.
I got 500, pardon me. I
Good.
have 500 for the corn roast.
Good,
1,000 for the
okay.
corn roast. And then the next time we do it, we'll add stuff on the back. Maybe more like a promotional thing, like these are the things we do.
Yeah.
If you want to be part of us.
Yeah.
You know,
Our address and
Yeah.
phone number and website.
Yeah.
So, cool, okay.
Okay.
Sharon, well,
I'd like to support that. And
Yeah.
that's what brought me.
yeah,
Oh.
we got our, I was gonna say,
Yay.
John came as a result of that card. So, all right. Let's go with somebody on there, but Sharon was first, then we'll come back. Sharon.
I've been active with the Plymouth Club as far as their chicken dinner.
Mhm.
I was not able, I had another obligation I had to do. They had a sign up sheet. Volunteers go to a certain table, they sign up, they have already, in fact, every school, every student, every parent, every person in Plymouth is a member and an active worker in that chicken dinner. Everyone is, the whole community, everyone in that community is the volunteer, okay? You have a sign up and you get a shirt,
Mhm.
okay? This is progressing, okay? But they get a shirt and wow, now they're the part of the community.
Right.
Now, the kids, every student has to have so many points of community service
Service.
before they can graduate. And we need to be in there with those principles and getting that, get in there and cement
Yeah.
with that.
Mike,
Yeah.
we need to have the principal at Churchill come and be a speaker here. I don't think he has been.
And what happened to Stevenson? Stevenson is right here. It's their neighborhood,
Right.
you know?
Well,
And
I think when we get a volunteer coordinator next year, Bob, that would be a great task for them as they, as well as having a command center, like she said, that volunteer coordinator also kind of has maybe a team where they go around to the schools and solicit some volunteer help.
Yeah,
That's a great
like-
idea.
There you
Yeah.
go, Claude.
yeah, and I think the National Honor Society in a lot of schools is a good place to start because they're very service oriented, but yeah, we can look
Absolutely.
farther at that, definitely. So, good
Hey, Claude,
idea.
was that a step forward kind of gesture on your part?
Yeah,
That is, and also,
Awesome.
there is one thing that, as we in retail, as we prepare for the day after Christmas, back in the day when it was a monster event and people were coming in and grabbing buggies and rushing and snatching and grabbing, those great deals that were for sale. There was a lot of pre-planning, just like we're talking about today in terms of where people were stationed and what their primary and secondary task. I think Mike alluded to that. So that's definitely something the volunteer coordinator can do next year. Other thing real quick is just a QR code at the point of sale. We'll definitely have that next year where if people want to pay online, which I would say probably a good probably a good 2% wanted to pay online. They just don't carry cash. So we'll have that QR code for them to just scan the QR code with their phone next year, and then they'll roll right through, and we won't have to worry about trying to give them the correct spelling of our.
That would be excellent.
We can do PayPal, and now we have a Venmo account too, don't we?
Yeah.
Bill? So we can do both of those.
Both of those available.
There's a number of people asked. I was going to say, I want to ask, is the idea, say, originally we were thinking everybody would walk up to the desks and pay. What happened is 2 or 3 people ended up going out and starting to collect money in the line. Is that an okay way to do it? Bill was guarding the desk and sorting out the money as it came in. But I think as long as we don't get out into the parking lot, but just do that, I kind of like that. It gave more personal service. People could go at their, at their leisure, and we could add people pretty easily. If there were 2 people out there, if, Dave was out there and somebody else, we could take a third person, give them a thing and have them go right out and do it. I, by the way, made up packets of $18 worth of change and put them with paper clips. So if somebody gave you a 20, which a lot of people did, you could just hand them the pack and it was already everything they needed. And I made up about 30 of those.
Yeah, that was a great idea.
As long as we're talking about it, what is your thought for next year? Do you think we should keep, I'll give you my bias, is I'd like to keep the admission fee 0. What do you think about the parking fee is $2? So give me some feedback on both of those. What do you think?
Well, wasn't it $2 this year?
Yeah, it was, but it was $1 the year before.
I thought that was perfect.
Yeah.
Because those who wanted to donate could just give us a 5.
Yep.
And you never knew, but you always had to greet them with a smile and say
Yes.
thank you, even if they wanted the $18 back and change.
Well,
So it varies a lot, but 2 seem to be just right.
The other thing
I gotta admit, my son, who I never thought he learned anything from me, but when it come to making change, he had a really slow hand.
Mhm.
Oh.
Can I show you something?
Sure.
I'll put it on this camera. With our PayPal app,
Yes.
which we already have linked to the bank, you can see this.
Yeah,
You
I
can have
see
like
it.
lots of this QR. So what we could do is, if anyone in line that wants to pay with their phone, we have them go to the desk. And at the desk, we have placards with $2 amount, or you can have, say, 5 or 10 or 20. And all they do is they just scan whichever one they want to pay, and it automatically goes to whatever they use to pay with.
Yeah, I like that.
So
Excellent idea.
well, it kind of gives them the idea, oh, you want to pay 2 or should I just give them 5?
That's the other thing is that we had at least 10 to 15% of our patrons that paid way more than $2. I got a ton of $20 bills, a ton of $10 bills, a ton of $5 bills. It was always keep the change, keep the change.
Well, the other thing I had happen, and I think it was when I was out with you or with Father Dave, people came up and gave a $10 bill and say, pay for the next 4 people behind me.
Yes.
And that never had happened before. And they were just, and it happened a whole bunch right now. I think people heard it. And when we went up to the next person, say the guy ahead of you paid for you. And it was like, they were shocked. So, I mean, it's like, this is getting interesting as people are
Random
getting
acts of
more
kindness.
generous. Yeah, it's all unbelievable. So, but Bill's suggestion is great. I think a separate part of the table for anybody who wants to pay by card will be good. Bill, did you have a question?
I think it would be useful to have a large sign that basically shows all the charity groups that we give to, because that, I mean, a sign like that over there, that maybe have 2 or 3 at different spaces.
Up around
and
there.
that way, I think people relate better to the organization.
You're right.
By the fact of the charities that you're giving. If you got an excellent thing as far as your director, that you list all the charities of this club.
I think that's great. With Tammy, actually, about 4 years ago, did up a list of all the stuff we do and give and support. And I think if we did up, like you said, a bigger one, have Pat do up a couple of signs or whatever, just listing.
After waiting in line.
Right, after waiting in line.
You could have those things spaced.
Right. Face the
To some
people
degree.
coming in. Right.
And You may not have all of them on one sign, but a whole series of signs.
Okay.
And I think that goes with shelter box too. They didn't get a whole,
And
where
they-
they were and stationed and stuff, and what I might have done is put them like right at the front with a
Well-
big sign that says, you
yeah.
know, your donations support shelter box, and have had him right there up front and.
They actually had we set them up the night before. They had a choice of where they wanted to be. I kind of wanted to have some shade around them because they'd be standing there. So, but you're right. They need to rethink that next year.
If we're doing shelter box
Right.
and if we have
Yeah.
them come, and even if they're in the same place, have a big sign that
Yeah.
says, you know, your donations are supporting.
Well, they did get a big sign made, but we didn't get time to get stakes out and get it put in. The kids were helping with that. I just,
That's
different thing, but Dave?
Along with Bill's good suggestion of a sign that just
Yeah.
bullet points a few of the, or many of the projects that we
Yeah.
do, it might be good to have it on the way out. Because the goodwill that you're trying to bring in as people come in, you want them to leave with that same kind of goodwill. And we were the beneficiaries of hearing all those thank yous
Yeah.
from people on the way out.
Yep.
But to leave them on a
Yeah.
happy note and letting
Right.
them know again what we
Well,
do.
I would also, and we've actually got some in the back, Tammy, I found them. We also used to do postcards that had a partial list of, here's the things that we do on it. And I think we should
Oh, that's a
update
great idea.
and have those to just hand out to people. They could look and see on that. And that just kind of highlighted the major things that we do. So I think the postcards are a good idea as well.
Well, if we maybe combine the postcards with this, because this is probably a much lower cost
Yeah,
than the
cards.
postcards, and maybe
Back of
combine the
Yeah.
two, because the postcards also were dated
Mhm.
and had the logo for
Right.
the year, and these aren't
Aren't
dated.
dated,
So,
Okay.
so we've got like 4 minutes left, and we should
Yep.
probably hit some of the high points if people have to go in a meeting.
Yeah, we didn't finish the thing. Has everybody agreed that $2 for parking
Sure,
next
sure.
year is probably still good?
Yes.
Zero
Yes.
attendance fee? Okay, all right. Let's jump down.
I want to jump on what Claude said about the volunteer coordinator.
Yep.
I really, you guys are talking about being in a parking lot all day. I actually didn't mind that. But what was stressful is the lack of coordination in the parking lot. So I'm gonna suggest that we set up a parking lot team and we can relieve each other as a team. Also, it was really difficult with no radios in the parking lot because when we ran out of parking, but we had empty spaces available, the
Yep.
cops came over to me and asked me to do these hand gestures
Yep.
to let them know how many, if I could take 2 cars or I could take 1 car. So radio would be.
Well, good. Nancy, the good news is Joanna Hardesty gave us 6 walkie-talkies to use. We had about 3 of them in use, or 4. So, and she can give us more. So that's not a problem. We will have the parking lot people, each parking lot person will have a walkie-talkie next year. So that's a great idea. And we've got a source to get them, and she has no problem. She loans them to us from her event. So great idea though. So
And a map of the parking, because the cops wanted us to send people to different lots as traffic was backing up.
Mhm.
And I didn't even know what the hell they were talking about. They say, send them here. And I didn't know where that was.
There's more discussion to that we need to have sometime. I'm going to bring this up, but we don't have enough time to deal with it. We found out, thanks to Maureen, that towards the middle to the end of the day, people were coming in the far west end of Greenmead. They were parking in the church parking lot, coming across and coming in the back way. And there was parking back there too. We could actually do some parking back there and put a table up and collect money there if we want to do that. And we don't know whether the people were sneaking in because they were cheap and they didn't want to pay $2, or the line was so long to get in off of Newburgh that they drove around and parked in the church, or that the church told its members, you can park here if you want and walk in. I don't know what we need to do about that, if anything, but the next time, I think we need to have a meeting where we talk about parking in a bigger sense.
Yeah, I think we gotta talk to the police department because we don't, I don't know what kind of a traffic mess it would cause, but I think we should have a booth and people with money to sit back there, at
Well,
least for the first,
Yeah,
2 hours.
2 hours.
Yeah.
After the 2 hours, the flow in the front
Yeah.
would be better. But I don't know about logistics, and the police would know that much better.
Yeah, I'm not sure, and I never saw how bad. I think I want to talk to the policeman who is in charge of that detail and get their suggestions. We've never done that, and I need to do that, to talk with the cop. Before we end, has anybody else got a prime topic of something they want to say, we should do this next year? Tammy?
My two things are, when we talk to the people in the trucks, we need to make sure that they know, please don't bring water. So I think that was a great giveaway. It's a cheap giveaway, but the problem is that we're trying to sell water.
Right.
So we need to let the trucks know upfront, if, please bring whatever you want, just
Gotcha.
please don't bring water,
Okay,
because
we're
that's
selling
our
it.
fundraiser.
All right.
And the second thing is, I don't know if anybody cares or it matters, but in the morning, there were a lot of, everybody had people around the trucks, but we were getting later into the end of the day, and I noticed a lot of the trucks were abandoned, where they were just open and they were letting people go in and out of the trucks,
Mhm.
and the people were sitting back in the shade
All right.
that ran the trucks. So I don't know if that's a problem or not, or if anybody cares, but that was one of the things that I noticed. And I think the other thing is I think it's already on the list, is to have an ice cream truck.
We, part of the problem with that, very quickly, that's a great idea. The kids wanted to have an ice cream truck. I helped them find places to go where they didn't have to pay for it. Getting free ice cream is not as easy as getting free water. The kids didn't do anything about it. They did not go out. They didn't call anybody. They didn't make arrangements, because several of these places, they would have had to drive to Rochester Hills, get the ice cream in a freezer and bring it over. The trucks, by the time they called, there's places that'll actually rent you a truck or loan you a truck to do it.
What about a good humor driver? Is get them to bring their truck in?
Well, right. What?
So that's fine.
Right.
I
I
didn't
just
mean to
want-
make it into a
No,
discussion,
no,
but just.
we could have sold
on the
a
list of
ton
things people
of ice
call.
cream. And I actually have a person who goes to our church who has a freezer that put ice cream bars in. And loaned, I actually had it in my garage for the kids to use, but they never got any ice cream. I'm gonna let them go with that, but they need to start it a month and a half, 2 months ahead of time. So I
Just let's put it on the
100% agree.
planning list,
Yep.
and then, because we
Yep.
can also sell, if they get ice cream donated,
Yeah,
and we have a freezer, we can also sell it with the water.
yeah, to do
You
that.
know, I felt bad for the Bush's guy, because Bush's donated the water, and the Bush store sent that old pickup truck.
Yeah.
And the guy was there with a tent by himself, and he wasn't displayed in the way that kids were trying to climb in his truck. And I thought, we were right across the road selling his water.
Yeah.
So that he chose to do that.
Okay,
Yeah.
He said, come park over here. sit
Oh,
with
no
us."
way. That's
Yes,
great.
And he's like, no, I'm gonna park over here, put my
Yeah.
tent up, so.
I felt so bad about that. I thought,
No,
why did
no,
he
no,
not
no, no,
put our
that
water under his
was all,
tent?
that was all his
Okay,
choice,
good.
because.
His name was Carl. He actually had a great time. The truck, people went up and looked at the truck as it was
Because
all.
we talked to him,
Yeah.
and he was one of the guys that helped us load the
Load
water
the
in the
water,
truck,
yep.
and they said, here's the truck.
And
and
Bob?
We
Yep.
can get it
Yes.
started, and
Greg?
so, yeah, he showed up
Okay.
and we're like, park next to
Your
us.
new volunteer coordinator has something he wants to say. Go ahead, Claude.
Oh,
Yeah,
Go
real
ahead.
quick, we'll work hard at a NASCAR truck, if that's one suggestion. And there's
Ooh.
really nothing around that,
God.
but those are the best trucks I've ever seen. They
ooh,
clean them
ooh,
and shine
ooh.
them up. So
Awesome.
that's one.
You have a
And then,
contact.
Yes, I will dig around and see what I can do, especially through GM and General Motors and stuff like that, or
Well,
we can find somebody to get a truck here.
who I was thinking of, and I didn't think of what to do. Penske is headquartered here in Detroit. I bet you if we started now and asked him and sent him, but by the way, I don't have it because I forgot to bring my phone this morning. Bill will put out in the letter, the fire department video, Vimeo is done. It's about 8 minutes long and it's really
I
good.
saw that. Yeah, I saw
Yep.
that. That was awesome.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
then,
the link's on the newsletter.
It's on the
In the spirit
newsletter.
of kids, I know we're talking about ice cream, and I don't know, this may add liability, it may not, just want to throw it around as, we might, if we can pull it off, maybe like one of those little mini train ride areas, just something very simple that may even go down the walking paths. Kids love that, they eat that stuff up, and it just
Well-
kind of adds to it, but nothing, without getting complicated. Little mini train rides usually add to things like this.
All right.
Just a
couple
thought.
of things to think about. I don't know whether we're going to be able to get helicopter next year from there because they're redesigning the events that they go out to. So I won't know the answer to that for a while. The other one was obviously the horse, the mounted patrol was a raving success. The kids loved it. So I'm going to invite them again next year. I'm looking, I've got a couple other possibilities for a helicopter if the Yankee Air Force or museum falls through. Any other particular kind of, I love your NASCAR suggestion. Anything else? I think we'll need to kind of roll things up here.
Yeah, let's
So,
finish it up.
yeah,
Okay.
all right,
We'll make
a second run.
I think it was great. I think it was a really good discussion.
Yeah, it was.
Do it complete.
Yep. We'll finish it off maybe next month's meeting if we have
And
time.
Grant had to leave and he sent us the comment. His was more about, and I'll put this on my notes back to you, Bob. Grant is saying that volunteers should really get there at 7:30 a.m. because it's so frantic from 8 o'clock on. So that's something we'll talk more about.
Did anybody use or see the volunteer parking sign in the parking lot?
Yes.
I think having us park along the tree line and have it be reserved for us is good because you're right next to where you need to be. Thank you.
Hey, you know what we might want to do? No, go ahead, Tammy.
11:30, definite, be here about 11:30 for the ice cream social on Monday, and we'll meet out in the front lobby.
Okay. Does anybody else have anything else before we do the four-way test and close the meeting in our normal fashion?
Just one
Yes.
quick thing, if it's all right with everyone, Mayor Maureen would like to just say a few words at the spaghetti dinner.
Okay.
And I think that probably would be good. Now, I'll interface, nothing political about it, just probably something positive.
What did, oh, I sent you that thing from Janet.
Yeah, Janice Centers.
Yeah, oh, yeah, okay, yeah. Yeah, Janice Centers was asking it. Okay, okay, good.
Like, after we close the meeting, I'll take 2 minutes to say what this is all about.
We'll go ahead right now while we have everybody's attention.
Last Friday, the businesses down on 6 Mile, just before Middlebelt, called the Celebration Station, that does balloons and party stuff. It was an armed robbery there. And the robbers came in and they basically stole all the money, everything they could grab from that place. And it's a mom and pop type business. And so they also stole their rent. They were getting ready to pay next month, $600. And I found out about through our church is donating some Aldi's food cards for them because mom and dad need money to eat.
Yeah.
If anybody wants to, I will be willing to go buy some more Aldi cards. If you want to give me some, I'm going to do it right after the meeting. You want to donate $5-10, I'll go get them. Or if the club wants to donate something to them, you know, write a check or something. Whatever you want to do, come up and grab me after. Thank you. I think they would appreciate anything. They're the ones who do provide all the supplies for the senior center whenever they do things. So they've been around a long time. So
That's where I bought the balloons for our installation dinner. So they branched off of A and Z novelty.
Yeah.
Just down the street from them.
Okay, that's all.
Okay. All right, well, let's close the meeting in our normal fashion by reciting, I'll recite the four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. First, is it the truth?
The truth.
Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? Fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? We be adjourned.
Thank you.
Watch the video. Be sure to take some of the spaghetti dinner sheets up there, everybody.